Measure discipline, not just outcomes. And so measure the discipline of it. So when we're confident that we have the right process, we can track how well we adhere to the process rather than looking for the goal accomplishment. So then if we fail to reach our goals, we can examine the process. Yeah. And basically, here's kind of the idea with this, and this sounds rather technical, but I feel like if if you're writing a mission statement or whatever, or if it's something more specific, like a goal in mind or whatever, is reverse engineering, like we talked about in the first point, reverse engineering that and say, okay, this is the process that it takes. And when we're talking about process, I think it might be clear by now. I mentioned this when I was telling you about the subject, that Joseph is a great example of a process, like, and this it does apply, but that's more of an example of a process like you'll eventually get there. You got to wait on God and go, be faithful. But I'm more like talking about being steady and just following. This is what we do. We do this daily, week in, week out. Yeah. And so if we follow these processes, so when you step back, this is the technical part. If you look at something and say, this is how we get there, and you're confident that this is indeed the process, then it's like you can close your eyes and just go.
Well, consistency, and this is kind of jumping into the next part of this point that we're talking about the hardest thing I think for us human beings is staying consistent. And so I think when you can really do everything you can to make sure that you stay consistent in it, that's going to help out like immeasurably. I mean, when you're checking these little boxes, I guess if you want to say that, but when you're kind of moving along in this process, it's like, am I following through on all these different things? Am I staying consistent? You might even schedule stuff like a week. Let's say you schedule your whole week out for this particular project you're working on. Say Monday, I'm going to do this. Tuesday, I'm going to do this. And you have these processes in place for the ultimate end goal, whatever you're finishing this project is. We'll just use the example. We're building this Coliseum for our next theme. So you've planned out every single day. And then it's like saying to yourself, I know that I need to hit all these points along this whole way. And if I'm not consistent, I will not reach that end goal on Sunday or whatever day it is to where I'll finish this. And so it's checking yourself every day. Okay, Monday I said I was going to do this. Did I do that? Yes. Tuesday I said I was going to do this. Did I do that? Am I being consistent every day? That is such a hard thing. Like you said, when you first started, you're super motivated, you're super on fire, excited. It's easy to be consistent. But then it's the days after that where you're like, but it's it's important. You got to be consistent.
And you have to. That's where you have to have confidence in the process because you will talk yourself out of it, or at least I do. It's like, do I really need to? Do I really need to get up and go to the gym? that kind of thing, right? But sleep is important too, right? So I got to bed kind of late. You start talking yourself out of it. So you have to be confident in that process. Yeah. And here's the other thing. This is kind of outside of the notes, but when you are following a process, you need to actually follow it, and you need to actually do it wholeheartedly. Yep. Because if you don't, when you get to the end of the space of time, whether it's a week, a month, a year, 5 years, and you have failed, if you haven't done it wholeheartedly, you cannot now examine the process and know if the process failed because you wasted your time. Yeah. You don't know if the process works or not because you didn't give it your all.
Yeah, you cannot properly measure success or failure if you didn't really follow through on any of that stuff that you're trying to... Yeah, if you didn't put your all into it. Yeah, I mean, you can't get to the end and be like, well, I guess that didn't work. And then you look back and you realize, well, I didn't do anything this day, that day. I didn't really put my best effort into that situation. Yeah. And then you start realizing, well, I mean, I didn't really give it a shot.
Yes.
I didn't really give it a chance.
And most of the time, I've worked with kids all my life. My own kids, and I've been in Sunday school for eons, and youth ministry. Was school principal at one point in time. That's right. Ages ago. And so I have seen over and over and over where I tried that, but it didn't work. And I step back and say, you tried that? And then let's look at, what did you try? How did you try it? Well, I did this. Did you do this? Well, no, I didn't do that part, but, and it's almost always, I mean, I would say 80% of the time it's the the process was broken somewhere.
Yeah. It reminds me today, I was working with my son on long division, and he was having a hard time, and they always do this thing where they fold their paces over so you can't even see the other side. And he's like trying to work through this, and I'm like, well, it says right here you have to round up the divisor and do this. I'm like, you need to get this figured out. And I opened the book up like this, and literally on the left side is like step by step of the whole process, how to get through this whole thing.
I feel you, brother.
Yeah, showing exactly how to do it. I'm like, did you even read this? Well, I mean,
yeah. The answer is no.
You need to read this because this is exactly the process you need to go through to get the answer to that equation right there. And it took him, he battled for a long time, but it was just like...
Hey, I'll tell you, I don't want to get off track here, but that just reminds me. So I would say, again, 80% of the time, kids, like in school, they need help. They got their, flag up and they need help. And you come and something like that, and you flip back a page or whatever where the instructions are. And all I would do, I wouldn't even ask them. I would just say, okay, go ahead and read this out loud to me. That's all I would do. And they'd start reading it, and so often they'd be like, oh, never mind.
Yeah. It's amazing that it's just like, you just they have it set up so easily for you. Just read this, follow the instructions.
I think
and then
there's a trick.
All through it.
Like if you were writing something for kids, don't put a header.
Yeah.
Or put a header, but it can be nonsense. And then put what your header would be in the first sentence, because they don't ever read the header.
Yeah, the part, so like in this one it says like round to this and to solve for that, and like he's trying to do the math. I'm like, did you round this up? It makes it so much easier. They're trying to show you how long division can be easier. Did you even do that? He looks down at it, and then he realizes that there's a one sentence in blue that's supposed to have red. And those who have kids in ACE, you know our pain sometimes.
We digress.